Daryl Morey, if you're listening, please pick VJ Edgecombe. Breaking news. I guess you could still call it breaking news because this got posted around midnight. I was about to go to bed, and then I saw this. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to react to this because we have some actual draft news and not a bunch of silly trade rumors that are never going to happen. We got Rutgers star Ace Bailey canceling his workout with the Philadelphia 76ers. Sources told ESPN Bailey remains the only U.S.-based prospect yet to visit any NBA teams, and this is flat out ridiculous what Ace Bailey is doing. It seems that over this past week or so, his draft stock has been spiraling out of control, just plummeting, and it seems that Sixers fans are done with him. And NBA scouts are done with him. I don't really see as much Ace Bailey hype as I did about a month ago when we got the third pick and everyone was saying, oh, he's going to be the next Kevin Durant. He's going to be the next T-Mac. He's going to be the next Paul George. And we got to draft him. It's a no-brainer. And, I was, at the time, I wasn't a, Ace Bailey super fan. I understood why you would select him at number 3, given his upside, given his perimeter shot making and, his defensive potential, his kind of defensive, flashes that he showed at Rutgers. But, the red flags were definitely there, and I think a lot of Sixers fans, they ignored them. And I think Ace Bailey in general, he was not the casuals pick because there are a lot of Sixers fans 80 times smarter than I am, who had him going at number 3, who wanted the Sixers to pick him at number 3. And so I guess he was kind of like the dreamer's pick because you saw his size, you saw his potential, and you could say, pair him next to Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. You got a wing player, and they can build a really dangerous core going into the future if he pans out. But, as we started to get to know him more, whether it was at the combine or, his interviews and stuff like that, he seemed to just lose hype. And personally, the first red flag for me was the fact that he was actually 6'7", or 6'7 and a half. And he was listed as 6'10 by Rutgers, which is ridiculous. And, his size, he did not have a good combine, to say the least. And everyone's comparing him to KD. But KD was 6'11", had a 7'5 wingspan. I think Ace Bailey's is around 7'1", 7.5". So nowhere near pretty much the Kevin Durant size. He's a lot smaller than we anticipated. But I was saying to myself, I was fine with him not being the best driver, not being the best playmaker. He wasn't really a good passer at all, or a good, good at getting to the rack. If you just watch his highlights, he gets no easy shots whatsoever. But you could say, with that size, he could definitely, work on it and improve and, do all of that. But, with him being 6'7", that was kind of the first red flag. Because, man, I really thought they would get, a real power forward type to pair next to Maxey and McCain. So that was the first red flag for me. The second red flag was the fact that he's canceling his workouts. That was pretty much it for me. I was fine with his weaknesses because he was 6'10", because I think he could, develop into that. But because he's 6'7", and because of what he was been saying recently, I don't think the Sixers are a good fit for him, to be honest. Everyone's still, even Draft Express said that Daryl Morey has a history of picking players even if they didn't have a workout with the Sixers, including Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey. So there's still the opportunity for them to pick Ace Bailey, but I don't see it. I don't see it because, number one, Daryl Morey, he has had to deal with so many headaches with his time with the Sixers. Ben Simmons, James Harden. I don't think he wants to go through that again. And if you could say one thing about Daryl Morey, you could say a lot of things about Daryl Morey. But if there's one consensus Sixers fans must agree on, it's the fact that he inherited a really shitty situation with the Al Horford contract and Josh Richardson and just a terrible core. So he had to fix a lot of that, and he has drafted well so far. I do trust his drafting decisions, but Ace Bailey, it seems that he just does not want to become a role player in the NBA right out the gate. I think he really thinks that he's going to be a top 15 player coming right out of Rutgers his freshman year. Didn't even go to like a fancy prep school or anything. Went straight to Rutgers. Had, a decent year there. It's not like he made like won the Wooden Award, was all parade, and took his team to the Final Four or anything. Like, granted, Rutgers really wasn't a good team, but you got all these other great prospects like not Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Con Knipple even. The guys who made the tournament, yeah, they were really good teams for sure, but we got to see more of them, and they didn't really have these issues. They didn't really have as inflated of an ego that Ace Bailey seems to have. Now, is this coming from him, or is it coming from his agency? Because Philly Take with RB recently revealed, he did some digging and found out that the agency that Ace Bailey has, it's like a family-friend connection, like going back to his AAU days. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons is an egomaniac and thought, that everyone was dumb as bricks because they told him that he had to get a jump shot. And that, he didn't have to change his style of play because, he was Ben Simmons. He was such a tall point guard. You know what I mean? He was so athletic. First overall pick. And I'm kind of getting a lot of those vibes with Ace Bailey, man. It seems that, like, he really does not want to. He doesn't want to ease into the NBA, if you know what I mean. He doesn't want to start out sort of, coming off the bench or whatever. Like, does he even want to come off the bench? Probably not. I mean, if he goes to the Sixers, you're not starting. Do you know who our coach is? It's Nick Nurse. Do you know what Nick Nurse did? He played Gershon Yabusele at center over Adem Bona, who was like 80 times more athletic than he is and much taller than he is. He didn't play him. He barely played Bona like until the end of the year when we were tanking. All right, so we're just going to react to the article and see what's going on. Shout out to Jonathan Giavoni for posting this. It's giving me some really interesting stuff to talk about because I'm not going to lie, man. The lead up to the draft so far, it's just been a bunch of trade rumors by like uncredible sources. Paul George might get traded to the Jazz. And, the Sixers have engaged in discussions with the Spurs about trading up and, whatever. That's not going to happen. So this is real stuff because it really applies to the 76ers. It's, ESPN, so I guess it's credible and came from Draft Express. And, yeah, this is cool stuff. And I want VJ Edgecombe anyway, so this is awesome as a VJ Edgecombe supporter. He really impressed in his Sixers workout. Tyrese Maxey even flew out to have dinner with him too. So, we got Tyrese Maxey kind of admiring you and your, work ethic. That's awesome. VJ Edgecombe, it seems to be that he's just a dog. He just loves to get in the gym, grind it out, really improve. And, he's kind of more of a guy who can contribute immediately to a team than Ace Bailey can, given his defensive IQ, his defensive skills, his athleticism, by far the best athlete in this class, and his shooting ability as well. He can really fit in with the Sixers, and I think it's important for Tyrese Maxey to have an elite backcourt defender next to him. Anyway, let's just react to the article. So, Bailey's pre-draft strategy has perplexed NBA teams over the past month as he is currently the only U.S.-based prospect yet to visit any clubs. That just rubs me the wrong way, man. That just rubs me the wrong way. It makes, in my opinion, I interpret it as he already thinks that he's like a surefire number 3 pick and he doesn't have to prove himself at all and that, he's going to get picked. He's going to immediately be like a focal point of the offense. It just rubs me the wrong way, man. He has declined invitations from multiple teams in his draft range, which is considered to be anywhere from number 3 to number 8. Projected top 2 picks, Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, have each visited the Mavericks and Spurs, all right? VJ Edgecombe has worked out for the 76ers and the Wizards and is scheduled to visit the Hornets. Okay. The Sixers have not ruled out selecting Bailey despite his refusal to visit, sources told ESPN. The team has scouted him extensively throughout the season since he plays at nearby Rutgers in New Jersey and interviewed him in Chicago at the NBA Draft Combine. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I wasn't upset about his comments about taking tough shots. I mean, I think that's just him, being confident given that he is a volume shooter and stuff like that. And I thought that, he isn't actually going to be taking those tough shots on the Sixers because, one, I don't think he's going to be getting enough time because Nick Nurse is our coach. And two, you have a hierarchy. You have Embiid, you have Maxey, you have McCain, you have Paul George. You know what I mean? You have a scoring hierarchy. Those guys are going to be getting the touches, not Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey will be like playing like an off-ball, off-the-catch type of role in Philly, you know, like flying off of screens and cutting and stuff like that, like being a grit guy, a guy that VJ Edgecombe's probably going to be when he gets selected by the Sixers, because Ace Bailey, he's not going to the Sixers, man. I don't think Daryl Morey is going to get in for another head case, and it seems that Edgecombe has really impressed not only the front office and ownership, but Tyrese Maxey, you know, the leader of the team at this point. So Daryl Morey has selected several players in the past. Okay, we know. Sources say Bailey's camp has informed interested teams that he believes he is a top 3 player in the draft, but also seeks a clear path to stardom, okay, hoping to find a situation with ample minutes and usage to maximize his full potential. Okay, that's it. That confirmed it. VJ Edgecombe, welcome to Philly. Ace Bailey, dude, you're not going to be getting this here. The Sixers are trying to compete for a championship. They're not going to win a championship anytime soon, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm just calling it how it is. But Daryl Morey's still contending for a championship. And VJ Edgecombe, he can contribute immediately. He's as good as a shooter as Ace Bailey is if you actually look at the stats. They both average 4.5 3-point attempts per game and shoot similar percentages, around, I think, 37% or so. So they're really similar shooters. Ace Bailey, yeah, he has more size, but VJ, much smarter player defensively, more athletic too. I mean, dude, that dude is just a freak, an athletic freak. He's going to be such a joy to watch. But his shooting form looks great too. Great off the catch. You know, has some problems, pull-up shooting and finishing at the rim. But at least he can get to the rim, has that quick first step. And so that's something he can work on. He seems to be, just a gym rat, just like Maxey McCain. I think he's going to work perfectly here in Philly. Do you have a log jam at the guard spot? You do. But I'm not concerned with that because the Sixers suck. They're not going to be doing anything anytime soon. You might as well just stack up on that talent and see what we can get in a trade or something. But anyway, he informed everyone that, hey, I want to be get that path to stardom immediately, whatever that means. So I guess that means just chucking up a bunch of shots in Brooklyn or New Orleans or something like that. I mean, if you want to do that, that's cool. But yeah, I guess if you just want to go to just such a brain-dead organization like the Pelicans or the Nets. It's not like the Sixers, are the most, competent organization in the world. I'm not saying that, but at least they're trying to win. And Ace Bailey, he's not going to be getting that type of role here in Philly. Now with Nick Nurse as your coach and not with the type of roster that we have. So this is another reason why I think VJ Edgecombe is going to be picked over Ace Bailey, is because he's more of a guy who will sort of ease his way into the NBA, start out as a role player, and really kind of go from the ground up, while Ace Bailey, he seems to just want to be that guy immediately, where the Sixers, it's not that situation for him. It's just not. So Bailey's camp has expressed the belief that teams such as the Wizards, Pelicans, or Nets will be aggressive looking to move up in the draft to select him. Bailey is slated to be selected number 6 in ESPN's latest mock draft, released Tuesday by the Wizards. Oh my goodness. After being projected second or third for the past 12 months. So you're saying that you're doing all of this, you're saying, hey, I want to be a star immediately just to be banished to the Washington Wizards? Do you really want that, Ace Bailey? Do you really want to go to the Wizards? I know the Sixers, they're the Sixers. They're not necessarily what you would call a winning organization, at least not in the playoffs. But in the sense that, yeah, they've had winning records. They go to the playoffs, consistently. Not this year. Not last year. Hopefully this year, but not last year. So if you just want to be a shot chucker, if you just want to be a supercharged Cam Reddish in Washington or with the Pelicans or with the Nets, that's cool, but yeah, we need to be picking VJ Edgecombe. I've sort of been on the VJ Edgecombe train for a while. I never said that, I was an Ace Bailey guy. I'm not a big Ace Bailey guy. I understood why you would pick him. He has, the shot making, the tough shot making. He has all that. He has the length, I guess, even though it's vastly overrated given that Rutgers completely lied about his height. Just the fact that he really can't get to the rim at all. He can't handle the ball that well at all. Can't really pass at all. It's going to be a long, development process for him when you already had, Paul George and Kevin Durant already looking like NBA players at least KD, at least. Paul George, it took time for him to develop a bit. But, when they were in college, too, around the same age, they were already just completely dominating. Ace Bailey, it's not like Rutgers was, some amazing team or anything. They didn't have the talent, sure, but, still had Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. So it's just not a good look. He's not going to go number 3 to the Sixers. I hope he doesn't. I think Sixers fans, they don't deserve another head case. We already have enough. We already have Paul George in his podcast, and we already have Joel Embiid not even playing basketball anymore. We need to move on with Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes. They're all guards, I know. But VJ, dude, he's 6'4". He's not undersized. He's not undersized at all. He's 6'4", only a half inch shorter than Dylan Harper. If you go on the NBA Draft Combine website, it's Dylan Harper's like 6'4" and a half. VJ is 6'4", like just 6'4" on the dot. And has a decent wingspan too. And I think he could really develop into a solid player. He still has that star potential, but he could also, be a really gritty role player immediately. And everyone's saying, why are you going to be drafting a role player with the number 3 pick? Well, I think two things could be true at the same time. He can come in as a role player, and he could also develop into a star. I think everyone's getting this expectation that just because you're a top overall pick, you have to immediately be averaging 20 points per game. That's not really how it works, especially when you have a team like the 76ers who are trying to compete. They have a veteran core. Hopefully they get younger, but, they're trying to stick with Paul George, Embiid, and Maxey. So you kind of need someone to fill in the gaps, and that is exactly what VJ Edgecombe does with his transition, ability, his defensive playmaking, generating points off of turnovers, point of attack defense, filling in the gaps, helping off ball, helping on the weak side or whatever, noticing rotations and doing all of that, just being a good supporting piece to start out his career, but at the same time having that upside as a star. And I can't wait just to stop saying and hearing that word upside when the draft is over. I just want the draft to be over already. I want VJ Edgecombe to be a 76er, but that's pretty much all I got. Thank you all for sticking in with me. It's going to be really exciting to see what the Sixers do in the NBA draft. I hope it's VJ Edgecombe, man. I've kind of been out on Ace Bailey for the past couple of days, to be honest, and I think VJ, he's the pick at this point. I think Tyrese Maxey, according to reports, he likes him a lot. Daryl Morey likes him a lot. And Daryl Morey, I trust you to make the right decision. I'll see y'all on Wednesday for the NBA draft, unless, I make another video or something. But that's pretty much all I got. I hope you all have a great day. Peace.